Now, ongoing narrative throughout the years has been the minutes that Tibbs gives out to his players. That guys are going to break down by the end of the season, and Tibbs is always overworking them. And even through the Knicks' success from last year, Tibbs was still questioned about his coaching style. Articles were even released on him being NBA players' least favorite coach to play for. But at the end of the day, everywhere Tibbs has gone, struggled to see success after he left. The Chicago Bulls haven't been the same since, and the Minnesota Timberwolves did not see the playoffs the following 3 seasons. But in the NBA today, things are quite interesting with the scheduling. Adam Silver has shortened up the preseason, thus cutting down on a lot of the back-to-backs, but we're seeing games every other day, and teams go through long stretches during the season without having 2 days off in a row. So in this segment right here, we'll hear from a current star who played in both eras, where the league used to have 4 games in 5 nights and longer preseasons, and how he adjusted to today's current era, where teams don't practice as much, and if players end up missing preseason and training camp, it's actually harder for them to recover, being the games are every other day. But first, we'll hear from Donte DiVincenzo as he was asked about Tibbs' schedule. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Everybody says this it was so much fun. Like when you hoop, you want to hoop. You want to be out there all right, what Josh Hart was doing, and I don't know about all that. Like
he went like 5 games without checking out or something, right?
Yeah, Josh is nuts, and he'll still complain about something. Like if he came out and be like, "Damn, why the hell did I come out for 30 seconds?" And but like, nah, it wasn't that. Like you just go in like, all right, let's win. And Tibbs, you trust in whatever his decision is, and we were winning. Like you can't knock it. Like we were winning, and I think you get to the point where like after the season, I actually felt my body felt really good after last year. Like it wasn't at the end of the year I was like, damn, I ain't got nothing left. Like I know a lot of guys got hurt and everything, but me personally, afterwards I was like, damn, we were 1 game away from.
You also emptied the clip in Game 7.
I was ready to go to Boston because I think that last game is when Jalen got hurt. So if we would have won that game, I would have went through hell with Drew and Derek.
Him and Alex Burks, they almost did.
Yeah, me and AB would have went through hell the next series.
You say something interesting about like after the season, the way you felt. Mm-hmm. I've obviously, my minutes have fluctuated in different seasons, right? And now I'm at this place where I'm not playing as much. Like I used to play 30, 35, and I was playing 82 games, the whole thing. You actually build up a tolerance for the load. Like everyone talks about load management and sit this guy out, and I'm not like knocking that, but.
And it's interesting, Duncan Robinson, who plays for Pat Riley, understands that their bodies do build up a certain tolerance, as of course Pat Riley works his players hard down there in the Miami sweatshops. But at the end of the day, we've seen players of the past not really come into a season very early on with all these hamstring injuries and other soft tissue situations. This season, the NBA is seeing a record number of players go out real early, not even a month and a half in. And with the NBA current scheduling, with teams playing every other day, going weeks at a time without 2 days off, when are those players coming back from injury gonna have enough time to rev up? Because make no mistake, in those off days, outside of traveling, a lot of these teams are just doing walkthroughs. The practice time is super limited, or it's even non-existent at times.
There is a downside to that in that you're not building the actual resistance to withstand that. So when you get to a point in the season, like playoffs are a physical grind. You're not playing back-to-backs, but you're playing every other, mostly, unless you're traveling in between. And if you haven't built up that tolerance to extend your minutes to 40 or whatever, if you're a starter, then all of a sudden you're doing it for the first time, your body's feeling different. Like it's so you guys, it's funny. I know you guys did have injuries, but you guys could like tolerate it as much as anybody.
Well, that's the thing is like early on, my body actually felt worse in terms of soreness and this and that. Cause like everybody's like, Donte, you played, what you just said, you played X amount of minutes, but like early on in the season, I wasn't playing. Like I wasn't playing a lot. So like it evened out at the end of the year. But throughout the year, you just build up a tolerance. And at the end of the year, you're like, Tibbs gets this rap of practice. But bro, we were playing, day off, playing, come and watch film, playing. Like, there's only so much you can do. Like,
Donte right there confirming what a lot of us already know. Teams are barely practicing, even with coaches that are known for working guys hard in practice. There is barely any time to practice. I don't know why Adam Silver has the NBA schedule this way. Game rest, weeks, months at a time, and then 2 days off on a random week. And then it's going to be another 6 weeks of game, day off. I mean, for some of these trips, there's going to be barely enough time to even get the travel off and get sleep. So that's why we're seeing a lot of players of today with even modern medicine and all the science we're hearing all the time from Adam Silver, the science. All of those things, including with the plenty of rest time that players get, it's not working. Guys are getting hurt even more.
I will say, like, he tries to get the most out of every single day, but it's not, running up and down and then go play for it. If we were doing that, I wouldn't been able. There's no way you can.
What's your like favorite recovery regimen? I'm trying to steal something right now, so.
To be honest with you, I kind of go in on every off day. I'm a big kind of cold tub guy. I like to just get the body moving for a little bit. I go in and get some shots up, and it really changed last year. I think with having the success that I was having, it kind of changed stuff for me. Even when I was, I'll go to a game and, like I said, I'm getting 10 up, and I might go 0 for 10, but there's 10 going up, and I was still going the next day, shoot my shots, get in the cold tub, get my body work, and then go home and chill with the fam. But there was no secret. I just like going in.
So think about Josh Hart. Last season, the ongoing narrative was that he was getting way too many minutes. DiVincenzo is letting you know guys will not last that long if the team was practicing hard on off days. So just with the way the scheduling is, when do players actually build up a sort of calluses to last long and deal with the 82 games and then deal with the intensity going into the playoffs? The deeper you go, the more intense the games are. It's an interesting situation to be in. But Paul George also spoke on this, as he is a player that has participated in the league in 2 different eras. And Adam Silver implemented these rules in the 2016 collective bargaining agreement, where he shortened up the preseason, and this was the brand new scheduling with the game rest. But when PG first came in, he was used to the 4 games and 5 nights, and then sometimes teams would even have a rest day from a Monday through a Thursday and have a Friday game. So he spoke on the difference and gave great insight. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I think it starts off like when I first came in the league, and you came in the league a lot longer than I did. Not trying to age you at all, JJ. But when I came in the league, and I went to a blue collar team that worked extremely hard. That was like the norm, like practicing hard. The 2-a-days on training camp, that was the norm to me, and I enjoyed it and I loved it because it helped prepare me mentally. It helped prepare me physically. It prepared my body for what was to come in a long season. And I think now teams don't really practice. We're not.
And also teams don't have those 2-a-days before training camp. It's rare. It's a shortened preseason, so those 2-a-days, it doesn't happen as often as it should.
Up and down. There's just, it's a lost art when it comes to that hard practicing. And I think that's why there's so many injuries that's going on, because guys that have a high load day and then a completely off day and then a high load day. Back then it was, you practice hard, you got a game. You practice hard, you got a game. Then you might have a day off. Then you come right back to it. So I feel like your body just built the callus, and that you were prepared for a long and rough season, to where injuries, there wasn't that many injuries. There wasn't time to take a load off because you felt good to play. You know what I mean? And I think now it's just, it's tough. It's tough because it's almost the reverse. They think by giving us time off, it's helped managing our bodies. But in honesty, I think it's just making us weaker as players without putting that load and strain to our bodies.
One other thing I want to note on that, because I think it's a great point in terms of the practice load then leading to the game. And you've played now 2 seasons. This is your second season since I retired. So you've experienced this new schedule. And by new schedule, I mean, maybe it was 18, maybe it was 19, but somewhere around that time period, there was an emphasis with the scheduling around eliminating as many 4 and 5 nights, which I don't even know if they exist anymore, eliminating 5 and 7 nights, eliminating 3 and 4 nights. And on paper, I think it sounds great. I really do. I like that idea. The problem is, prior to them changing that, you would play 5 and 7, and maybe you finish on a Monday. You probably wouldn't play again till Friday. There was time to recover from nagging injuries. I can remember with Doc, Doc was great about giving us days off when we needed them, and we would have a Monday game in LA and not play again till Saturday, let's say. And he'd say, I'll see you guys Thursday. And we would go in knowing Thursday and Friday are going to be hard practices. But now I get a little break here to recover. And you go in the gym, maybe you do your maintenance work, maybe you do your training table work, maybe you get your shots. But there was time. And now with the current schedule, it feels like it's game, day off, game, day off. There's no long breaks during the season where you have multiple days. I can't remember if it was T. Lou, but I know it was one of the coaches over this weekend. They said to me, they're like, we haven't had a 2-day break between games in over 7 weeks. All-Star aside, it was back to like December before there was a 2-day break between games. Do you sense that sort of lack of longer time between games?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's tough on our schedules because we just recently, like last month, I think is when we first started getting 2-day breaks in between going into the All-Star break. But before then, we were every other day, if not a back-to-back. And like it's no, like I don't want to say it's Clippers' fault or like I'm not saying that T. Lou doesn't practice us, but it is hard based off of our schedule of playing every other day to get good practice days in on that note, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just the way the scheduling is. Like they made it not so many games in a week span, but we're still every other day, which is, I almost would do more games in the front and then get a little break, because those breaks, like as much as it is physically, it's a good mental to get away from the game for like 2 days
100%.
and then come back, and know, all right, now we got another stretch.
And now we're seeing a little bit of the flaw of the science. Sometimes their measuring stick for when they first start off the experiment is it's wrong. It's wrong off rip. And the measuring stick was a lot of the behind the scenes people probably didn't factor in that the rest period for a regular person should not be the same for these guys that are going through 82 games plus travel plus playoffs. They might have measured the quote unquote science, like Adam Silver loved to say, where they started off at was already wrong. There might be a scientific term for it. It's almost like starting a chemistry experiment, but the measurements off rip are already wrong. There's a term for that. I can't think of it at the moment, but you guys get what I'm going at. And this right now is hurting the league. It is hurting the league. Guys are getting way too many injuries. And this season, I've never really seen it like that in all my years of watching the league. Just this many guys hurt, a lot of soft tissue injuries, and the league is for sure going to have to take a look at this scheduling.
That was the way we looked at it as in Indiana. Like, all right, let's win this 5 out of 7. We got 2 days to recoup, and then let's target this next week. Let's target this, 4 out of 6 this week. You know what I mean? And it's a different game, man. We're adjusting to it and we're trying to figure it out. But I think it is a different game from what we used to play.
So great insight by PG and also Donte. Donte actually confirming that guys are not going as hard in practice. That's why they're lasting so long. So we got to look at sometimes the minutes that Josh Hart logs in a little bit different. understanding that these practices for the most part are just walkthroughs and them just probably just working out in the gym, doing a little running, doing cardio, but they're not practicing hard and then playing 40 plus minutes. The media overblown Josh Hart's minutes last season. It added more fuel to the fire that Tibbs actually burns out his players. But as Paul George stated, it's hard to get a practice in when it's game, rest. So just taking a step back and looking at it, Tibbs might be using the games as almost a way to get these guys built up to last longer going through the playoffs. The Knicks starters right now are logging in a lot of minutes. We also got to factor in the practices are limited. So just something to keep in mind. But knock on wood, if guys get injured, you see how hard and difficult it is for them to rev up the engines and sort of get back in stride, because who they're really going to go hard at in game speed during practice when there's a game every other day. So we'll see how it plays out. Adam Silver has a lot on his hands, and he cannot afford these stars to be getting hurt while going into a new TV deal. And for a lot of the media members, stop hating on Tibbs.